Hello, this is Blue Star, Defender of Equestria, and this is my Afterthoughts review of the Cutie Map. First off, for those who are unfamiliar with this format, I'm gonna do this quote-unquote quick and dirty and probably not really animate my OC that well and do this just quick and dirty so I can get this done, and because I just simply don't have a lot of time, and I must admit it's interesting to simply watch other people's reviews and see what they think about it and maybe compare, contrast, and in a way summarize what some of them think. And not to mention, I get to watch the show in glorious high definition and then see if my opinion on the show has changed in those few days. I think it's short in this case. The answer is no, it didn't. I still like this episode. It was very different, but different in a good way. It was good, I think, to do a smaller story, one that's more personal drama. And, in a way, everything I said during my, sort of review after my Comrade video of this, I think in a way still stands, and I think that was a pretty good, review section of that particular episode. So, but yeah, a few things I will add to this one, is that, yeah, the main six got their butts kicked way too easily. It's kind of disappointing, to say the least. Oh dear, and I must admit, in a way, I don't really want to open up this can of worms, but at the same time, ironically, someone released a video about how useless the Royal Guard are, and those kind of videos frustrate me, because, objectively, yeah, it's true, but the Royal Guard lose and are useless for the same reasons that the Alicorns and Twilight are useless. They're not allowed to win, because if they did, it'd be the end of the story. If Twilight could kick Starlight Glimmer's butt, it's the end of the story and everything, and that's the simple reason. This is why she had to fail, Celestia had to fail, the Royal Guard had to fail, and even the main six fail in a number of episodes, from Canterlot Wedding to the season 4 finale to this episode. It's like they just simply aren't allowed to win, and that frustrates me, and I'm gonna, in a way, leave that there. But at the same time, the reason this is because, first of all, this is just simply not this kind of show where characters are going to fight their way out of a situation. And the other is that it isn't about Starlight Glimmer coming up with some cunning plan or somehow overpowering Twilight. It's about her stealing the main six's cutie marks and then going from there. So in a way, it's kind of a minor point. But to be honest, they've kind of played that card a few too many times, and it's starting to get a little frustrating, and I think maybe they needed to do something else this time. That maybe they needed to have her, like, torture the mage six or take their cutie marks away or something, and then basically turn to Twilight and say, if you don't give me your cutie mark, I'm gonna keep torturing your friends and everything. Maybe that would have worked. But anyway, in a way, this is kind of a minor point, but this is getting to a point where we can't just simply dismiss it. But anyway, moving beyond that, I overall liked this episode. It was good. I mean, it was not without its problems and its difficulties, because, yeah, as Brony Curious / Tommy Oliver, I know he's no longer referred to as Brony Curious, but he'll always be Brony Curious to me. But anyway, as he said, Spike was not allowed to participate in this episode, pretty much because he could actually solve the problem. It's like he could breathe fire, so he could burn the door down. I'm kind of okay with that. It's sort of an unwritten rule that Spike never gets to really participate in any of the season openers, with perhaps the exception of Crystal Empire. But yeah, he's mostly pushed to the side, and he's basically, not allowed. Sorry, Spike, you're not allowed to participate. Maybe because in those cases, it's because they want this to be about the main six and not about Spike. Yeah, I don't really think that's a big problem. I think Brony Curious's video was kind of a little harsh. True, but a little harsh. I do have to say that when I look at these ponies, that, yeah, I think communism, it may not exactly be exactly communism, but I can't help but feel this is communism. This is what communism in a way is all about. It's about treating people fairly and equally and, for the good of the state and all those sorts of things. And I'm not a political scientist, so I don't know if this is actually communism or not. And frankly, nor do I care, but but anyway, yeah, I mean, that was certainly a interesting direction for them to go down. Again, the interesting thing here with this whole, everyone is equal philosophy is that this isn't necessarily evil. It's not necessarily wrong. Some of the things they say, there's some actual valid points there. I mean, exceptionalism, thinking that you're better than everybody else, can be very bad, not just for yourself, but everyone. It's simply a matter of culture. It's neither wrong nor right. It's just different. Unfortunately, in the end, it did prove to be evil, basically because, well, this was basically a cult, actually. It was, this was more about what Starlight Glimmer wants and everything, and that's ultimately why this was bad and everything. And of course, the Ponies did decide to quote-unquote free themselves. They could have gone along with what Starlight Glimmer is saying. Is like, oh yeah, you're right, you can't take, okay, you gotta keep your cutie marks so you can have your magics, you can take other Ponies' cutie marks, okay. They could go along with it, but they decided, hey, no, we're not. It's like, we're either all equal or we're not. And that was definitely what was cool about this episode, was that the Ponies, in a way, are inspired by the main six, but ultimately, they free themselves, which is pretty cool and everything. And again, the main six had to rely on these Ponies to basically rescue their cutie marks. That was pretty cool, and oh dear. I know some people won't like this, but I think in general, the main six and definitely Twilight are becoming much more like Celestia and the princesses. They're being good mentors. They're helping these Ponies to understand and to go and do the things that they have to go and do, and in a way to sort of step aside and then trust that those Ponies will go and do what they have to do and everything. And that's cool. I mean, think about it. In the very first episode, Celestia is basically trusting her life to Twilight and to these Ponies that she probably doesn't even know. I mean, that's pretty cool. I mean, and that's certainly what is happening here, is that that the main six basically have to trust these Ponies to rescue them and everything. And I think that was cool. And there were a lot of difficult moral choices in this episode. Like, poor Fluttershy. She's put in such a hard position in this episode. She has such a difficult choice, and for her characters, like, she doesn't want to hurt anybody. That's why she loves this town. She's obviously kindness. She likes to see Ponies getting along and being nice to each other. So for her to all of a sudden now have to choose, does she sacrifice these Ponies for the greater mission, if you will, or does she risk the mission to protect these Ponies? It's like, oh, that was such a difficult choice, and she kind of lucked out in that she didn't ultimately have to make that choice. And again, in a way, that was those Ponies' responsibility, and that was cool. Is that, it's like, what a noble sacrifice! Good for you! And that was cool. Although this episode was really creepy, I don't think it went too far. Dark, I don't think is the word that describes this episode. It's definitely creepy. It's like, yeah, Welcome has never sounded so creepy. Yeah, it's like, oh, those Ponies are kind of scary, but ultimately it was okay, and I liked it. And there was simply a lot of interesting things in this episode that were just simply interesting and, in a way outside what you would expect a show like this to do, but still worked within the rules of the children's show thing, and I liked it, and it was enjoyable. And I think in general, it reminds me of this line that someone once said about Star Trek, is that most Star Trek episodes are made to make you think, but there's one or two that are made to make you laugh. However, in MLP's case, it's the opposite way around. Most episodes are designed to make you laugh and not make you think, per se. This episode was definitely made to make you think a bit more. But however, it was still kind of fun at the same time, and I like that, and I enjoy that. And there was certainly a lot of interesting character dilemmas and moral dramas and everything. And of course, Starlight Glimmer is a very interesting character. I think the short answer here, without going too far off topic or making this a big long thing, is that Starlight Glimmer is almost the anti-Twilight. She's the opposite of Twilight. It's almost like if the events of Friendship is Magic had not happened, and Twilight had basically stayed in Canterlot and just kept on studying and didn't have any friends and been all on her own, this is in a way what could have happened to her, is almost my first thoughts on this. And it's also interesting to note that Starlight Glimmer's cutie mark kind of has the core of Twilight Star, but then has these sort of like squiggly things. So it's sort of like she's sort of related to Twilight, but she's not. It's sort of like she's sort of the loner Twilight. I think that's the short answer. This is what would have happened to Twilight if she had remained a loner. It's I don't know if Twilight would have really gone down this road, but I could see, a character like Twilight going down the dark path, and she definitely has much anger inside her. She's definitely very angry about something. What that thing is, we don't know, but I'm certain that we're going to know. This is clearly not the end of Starlight Glimmer, and we're definitely going to see her again. And there were certainly a lot of interesting things. I mean, simply the act of being able to remove a pony's cutie mark in itself was a revolution. It's like, I almost wanted to open this video with like Blue Star having like a nightmare of having his cutie mark taken away, but I think that would have gotten a little bit too serious, and honestly, I don't really have the time to do that right now. But it's like, yeah, you're only gonna take my cutie mark over my lifeless body! And everything, and yeah, that was an interesting thing in itself, and but ultimately that certainly opens up a lot bigger possibility for a lot of different things, and in general, that's what this episode has done. It's opened up a lot of interesting possibilities. It's taken the show in a direction that it generally doesn't go down. But it was a good change of pace, and it was definitely nice to have a smaller episode, one that wasn't so focused on big, huge, massive villains, and definitely make you think, because these characters are simply not, oh, these characters are good, these characters are evil. It's not that simple. Like, Starlight Glimmer is definitely not a full-on evil character. I think the short answer is, she's not evil, she's just wrong. She just believes differently, and the things that she believes in are ultimately wrong in a sense. But it's probably more complicated than that. As I like to say, the source of all evil is not money, it's pain. And I'm sure there's something about her I'm sure there's something in her past that made her go down this road and everything. Ultimately, this was still a really good episode. I liked it a lot, and again, not without its problems, but was still a really good episode, and I enjoyed it. And I'm certainly excited to see what is going to happen with Season 5. I predict it's going to be really cool, and it's going to be awesome and everything. So I think that's the end of my Afterthought review, and I appreciate you for listening, and as always, stay strong and pony on. Blue Star out.